On YouTube, travel credit cards are hyped up quite a bit, but I feel like some of the examples of the redemptions that people are making, like to the Maldives or Bora Bora, is just not that attainable for the everyday person. And that even goes for the people that have as many points as they need to book one of those trips. I just think that we forget from time to time that people have life circumstances that don't allow them to take these aspirational trips that we talk so highly about. So in today's video, we're going to be covering a few of the best domestic economy travel credit cards that don't get quite enough airtime. See what I did there? Airtime? Anybody? We're going to be breaking this one down into three main sections though, the first of which being the one that most of y'all probably came here for, and that's for the luxury travel credit cards in this domestic travel category. Then secondly, we'll be looking at the mid-tier domestic travel cards. Then lastly, I'll touch on both hotel and airline credit cards that you might want to consider instead of these general travel credit cards, especially if you're traveling domestically with one or two airlines and hotel chains very frequently. Also note that we're going to be talking about personal credit cards here today, but there are a ton of business travel credit cards that could be good in this situation as well. And as always, if any of these credit cards do catch your eye, please be sure to check the description for the links I've left down there for you, so you can use those links to help support the channel at no additional cost to you. Now let's get into section number one, which is going to be the luxury travel credit cards. This time around, instead of making y'all wait till the very end of the video to see my pick for the best travel credit card for domestic travel, I'm gonna go ahead and tell y'all that right up front, and that card is going to be the Chase Sapphire Reserve. There's really one main reason that this card is ranked number one in my opinion for domestic travel credit cards, and that's going to be because not only does this card grant you the ability to transfer out to Chase's travel partners like Hyatt and Southwest, for example, but on top of that ability to transfer out to travel partners, you also are able to redeem your points through Chase's travel portal at a 1.5 cent per point valuation. Now, there are many pros and cons to using a travel portal compared to transferring out to travel partners and booking in that hotel or airline's native point ecosystem, but the fact of the matter is a lot of everyday people do not care to go to the extent that we do to learn about how to use our points in the best ways possible. So travel portals can be a really big way that people redeem their points, and being able to get a 50% boost on your points by using a travel portal is huge in this case. Now, like I said, this method does not require you to understand fully how the travel credit card game works, but one word of caution I will give you is that if you are somebody that cares about hunting statuses with different hotels and airlines, if you book through Chase's travel portal, a lot of times those airlines or hotels are not going to respect any status you might have with that company. But you just can't argue with the simplicity of this redemption method because it's just so easy to do, and it's also really powerful because you don't have to worry about certain blackout dates like you might have to whenever you transfer your points out to travel partners. Of course, it's always important to do your own research and see if these travel portal prices are like severely inflated, which hopefully they're not, but even if they were, if that 50% boost gives you more value than the price is inflated, then technically you're still saving yourself money rather than cashing out those points and using the cash to then book that trip. Since we're here, we might as well do a rapid fire breakdown of all of the other benefits that come on this card, or at least most of them. First of which being the fact that it does usually have a pretty decent sign-up bonus. Right now, the sign-up bonus is for 60,000 points after spending $4,000 in the first 3 months of having it. However, just so y'all know, the Chase Sapphire Preferred usually has a better offer than the Chase Sapphire Reserve does. So one method you might want to consider implementing is going ahead and applying for the Chase Sapphire Preferred and then product changing to the Chase Sapphire Reserve instead of applying for it fresh. The reason you might want to do that is because you can get a welcome bonus on only one of the Sapphire cards every 48 months. So technically getting a higher bonus on the Chase Sapphire Preferred makes more sense if that's something you want to do. On top of that, this card earns in the following categories: 10x on hotels and car rentals booked through Chase's travel portal, 10x on Lyft rides through March of 2025, 5x on flights through the Chase travel portal, 3x on other travel purchases, 3x on dining, 10x on Chase dining purchases through Chase's portal once again, and 1x on all other purchases. On top of that, this card also comes with a $300 annual travel credit, as well as a membership to Priority Pass Select, and to my knowledge, this does still include access to the Priority Pass restaurants. I could be wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure that's still the case, and that's one big reason why people like this luxury travel card over some of the others. You'll also get access to other Chase Sapphire lounges that are starting to pop up here and there, as well as a credit to Global Entry or TSA PreCheck, or even Nexus if you want to use it for that instead. And of course, there are many more perks and benefits that come with this card, but just so you know, all of this does come at you with an annual fee of $550 on this card. There's another lesser talked about card on the market that's actually pretty powerful and pretty comparable to the Chase Sapphire Reserve, and that's going to be the US Bank Altitude Reserve. I'd honestly probably slot this one right under the Chase Sapphire Reserve, and the reason for that is because this card is arguably one of the best one card setups out there. And I'll tell you in a second why that's the case, but also realize that this card is under the Chase Sapphire Reserve because it's a lot harder to technically get approved for, in my opinion at least. That's because US Bank as a lender is just harder to get approved for, and they like to either see some kind of relationship with them or just a low velocity of applications, which is just not something I want to do right now. However, this card is arguably just under the Chase Sapphire Reserve because it also gives you a 50% boost on your points whenever you use US Bank's travel portal. One pro in favor of this card over the Chase Sapphire Reserve is that it actually does have a lower annual fee of $400 $300 with up to $325 of travel credits you can earn back on this card. So depending on how you value the other perks that come on the Chase Sapphire Reserve, this card might actually have a lower effective annual fee for you. Some of its other perks include a pretty decent welcome offer of right now 50,000 points after spending $4,500 on the card in the first 90 days of having it. And as for earning categories, it gives you 5x back on hotels and car rentals through the Altitude Rewards Center, 3x on travel and mobile wallet purchases, a priority pass select membership, but only for 4 visits for you and 4 visits for a guest from what I could tell, a TSA pre-check or global entry credit once again, and much more. So as you can see, it's a pretty decent card. I would still say that the Chase Sapphire Reserve wins this debate by a pretty wide margin, but I do know a lot of people who have said that they had this card and honestly really love it, so I wouldn't write it off. The next travel card in this category will be the Capital One Venture X. To be blunt, I really do think that this card is great, but I think it's under the Chase Sapphire Reserve for one main reason. It does not give you any kind of boost on your points whenever you redeem through their travel portal. I'd say that this card is much better used whenever you transfer your points out to travel partners with it. However, their travel partners are not very competitive when it comes to domestic airlines or hotels. While granted, you could transfer those points out to an international travel partner and use the partner alliances to book a domestic flight with your points. But again, we're talking about the everyday person here who doesn't necessarily want to go through the hassle of learning how to do all of that. We can't forget how awesome this card really is though, especially considering the fact that you can easily get positive value from it every single year, even with its $395 annual fee. How is that the case though? Let's look at the benefits. First of all, it comes with a $300 annual travel credit every single year whenever you book some kind of travel through Capital One's travel portal. On top of that, it gives you 10,000 anniversary miles every single year whenever you renew the card. It also gives you a global entry or TSA pre-check credit, and with all of those right there, you're already in the green with this card, but there's still plenty more perks to add to it. It also gives you airport lounge access to the Priority Pass lounges, Plaza Premium lounges, and Capital One's own lounges. It also gives you Hertz President Circle status, which is the highest status with Hertz. Not to mention, it gives you 10x back on hotels and car rentals through their travel portal, 5x on airfare through their travel portal, and 2x back on everything else, which makes this a really solid catch-all credit card. Once again, this is just some of the perks that come on this card, so there are more that you could go look at, but I think that as of right now, this card could really slot into any traveler setup, mainly due to the fact that even with just one booking a year through Capital One's travel portal of $300 or more, you're going to get positive value out of this card, at least right now before they nerf it. Lastly, on this luxury travel credit card list, we have, of course, the Amex Platinum card. To me, this card is just honestly not what it used to be when it comes to domestic travel, at least in my opinion. Granted, I don't personally have this card, even though I do plan on getting it at some point, and I would have already had it if I wasn't in Amex's pop-up jail. But what I hear from everybody who travels on a very consistent basis in the credit community Discord, which is linked below, of course, the Centurion Lounge has become so overcrowded that people just forgo actually even staying in them and will go to a Priority Pass lounge or some other lounge instead. However, you still can't argue the fact that technically this card has the most upside value from any credit card on the market, really, especially compared to other travel credit cards. If you were to take advantage of all of the credits on this card, both retail and travel related, you'd get back more than $1,500 worth of value from this card every single year, but that's just not realistic for basically everybody. That's why I always recommend that you do your own research before you apply for a card with a high annual fee like $695 on the Amex Platinum card. As I mentioned, I still do plan on adding this card, even though people are really fed up with the Centurion lounges right now, but I do think that Amex needs to work on that or they're going to start losing customers. I think it's awesome to see that this card is so popular these days and that the credit card education space is growing as much as it is, but I think we might be seeing a case where this card is almost becoming too popular and it doesn't feel as luxurious as it used to feel, to me at least. If you're somebody who's looking to add a card like the Amex Platinum card or really just any card in general to your credit card setup, I'd highly suggest you find a way to manage your credit cards responsibly, and personally I use Max Rewards to do so. Max Rewards is an app that allows you to pull all of your credit card information from credit cards that you have from any lenders really into one convenient app. For me, I use it mainly to show me my point balances, my total card balances, my credit utilizations, my bill due dates, and much more. When it comes to adding new cards to your setup though, I think one of my favorite features about the app is that it does give you a welcome bonus tracker so you can see just how much more money you need to spend to hit the welcome bonus. Max Rewards does also have a paid tier called Max Rewards Gold that I've paid for out of pocket before they were a sponsor of the channel. And what that'll do for you is automatically activate all of your credit card offers for you, as well as any of the quarterly rotating categories your cards may have on them. I truly believe in this product as a whole, and even though there are some issues with every single app you're going to use out there, the fact that this app will allow you to connect all of your cards from different lenders in one place and link directly to your point balances and everything is really awesome to me. If you're interested in trying out even just the free features, be sure to use the link down in my description to download the app, and then once you're signing up for the app, please feel free to use the promo code Spencer so that they know I sent you. On top of that, it'll also give you a free month of Max Rewards Gold if you do decide to upgrade, so there's that too. Thank you to Max Rewards for sponsoring this video, but let's get back to talking about these domestic travel cards. By taking it a step down a bit, for those of us who aren't quite quite ready for those luxury travel credit cards and instead talk about the mid-tier travel credit cards. The first card in this section that you knew we were going to talk about is the Chase Sapphire Preferred. I'll stand by this forever most likely, but to me, the Chase Sapphire Preferred is hands down the best beginner travel credit card on the market. And I found that to be the case for both domestic and international travel. It's really just the light version of the Chase Sapphire Reserve that we talked about earlier, but here are some of its benefits. For one, it usually does have a higher welcome offer, like I said earlier, than the Chase Sapphire Reserve does, and right now its base offer is 60,000 points for spending $4,000 in the first 3 months of having it. It actually just got done with a limited time offer of 80,000 points, and these offers do come and go, but they usually just come and go for the Chase Sapphire Preferred rather than the Reserve. So that's why I recommended that maybe you should apply for this card instead of the Reserve and then product change up to it at a later date. On top of that, this card also will give you 5x back on Lyft rides through March of 2025, 5x on all travel purchased through Chase's Ultimate Rewards portal, 3x on dining, including eligible delivery services, takeout, and just dining out, 3x on select streaming services, 3x on online grocery store purchases, excluding Target, Walmart, and wholesale clubs, 2x on all other travel purchases, and 1x on all other purchases. It also comes with a $50 annual hotel credit whenever you book a hotel through Chase's travel portal. And most importantly of all, it not only gives you a 25% boost on all of your points whenever you book travel through Chase Ultimate Rewards portal, which is similar to the 50% boost that the Chase Sapphire Reserve gives you, but it also gives you access to Chase's travel partners. And like I said at the beginning, these travel partners like Hyatt and Southwest are very good for domestic travel. Southwest maybe a little bit less so, but Hyatt does have some really great redemption rates you can find. While objectively, the Chase Sapphire Reserve gives you a better boost on your points and is the better card overall for domestic travel, technically, being able to get access to Chase's travel partners as well as even just a 25% boost on your points for a small annual fee of just $95 is pretty insane. While the Chase Sapphire Preferred is great, there are a couple of other lenders that also have mid-tier travel credit cards that are worthy of talking about today. The first one between those two being Citi with their Citi Premier card. This is arguably the best one card setup on the entire market given how many 3x categories it has. It gives you 3x back on air travel and hotels, 3x back at restaurants, 3x at gas stations, 3x at supermarkets, 10x on hotel and car rentals through Citi's travel portal through June 30th of 2024, and 1x back on everything else. On top of that, it does come with a $100 annual hotel credit whenever you do spend $500 or more on a hotel booking through Citi's travel portal. Plus, it usually has a pretty high sign-up bonus, and right now the minimum it's offering is a 75,000 point offer after spending $4,000 in the first 3 months. And once again, all of that will come at you and more for just an annual fee of $95. One of the biggest cons though of all Citi cards, and especially this one, is that they do not offer travel protection or insurance, which is obviously a pretty big deal for a travel credit card. However, if you care less about those protections, then using this card in combination with other Citi cards like the Double Cash or the Custom Cash could be extremely powerful and probably will give you the most amount of earnings out of any trifecta out there, arguably. Another card that I think is pretty decent in this category would be the Capital One Venture card. Not the Venture X here and not the Venture One here, but the normal Venture credit card. This one does have a $95 annual fee as well, but its main attractor to me is that it does just give you 2x back on all of your purchases while also giving you some added travel perks for those that maybe aren't ready to step up their game a little bit. But besides that 2x back it gives you on every purchase, it also will give you 5x back on hotels and car rentals through Capital One's travel portal, as well as another nice sign-up bonus of 75,000 points after spending $4,000 in the first 3 months, plus 2 free lounge visits per year through Capital One lounges or their partner lounges, Hertz 5-star status, a credit for global entry or TSA pre-check, and much more. However, personally, I would say that if you are even considering this card, I would just take a look at the Capital One Venture X instead. As we talked about earlier, the Venture X is a lot easier to get positive value from than you may think, and honestly, the annual fee doesn't matter if you're getting positive value back from that card every year. Of course, you have to pay that $395 annual fee on the Venture X upfront to use the card, so you got to take that into consideration, but you're basically just prepaying for a trip that costs $300 or more on the Venture X. So as long as you're planning on doing that already, then you're getting positive value from the card. I've made a lot of videos on the Venture X, and it's one that I'm really loving so far, so I would check out those videos if you haven't seen them already, if that's a card you're considering. Now, instead of just looking at cards with transferable currencies and ones that are more just general travel credit cards, let's touch on some of the best hotel and airline cards for domestic travel. Starting with hotel credit cards, of course, this video would not be complete if I didn't mention Hilton's line of credit cards. For those of y'all that don't know, Amex has 4 Hilton co-branded credit cards in their arsenal. They have the normal Hilton Honors card with a $0 annual fee, the Hilton Surpass card with a $95 annual fee, the Hilton Aspire with a $450 $99 annual fee, and the Hilton Honors Business Card with a $95 annual fee like the Surpass. We're not going to break these down one by one, but just know that in combination with each other, these cards provide you with honestly probably the most value out of any set of credit cards in the whole credit card game. The way they do that is from the welcome bonuses that come on them, which are very high normally, as well as the upgrade offers you're able to get on all of these cards besides the business card, I guess. On top of that, the Hilton Aspire card is arguably the best not only hotel credit card, but the best luxury travel credit card in general. Each one of the Hilton cards serves their own purpose, but personally, I'm really looking forward to starting to apply for this card and playing the Hilton Carousel, as I like to call it, where I can basically apply for each of these cards to get their welcome bonuses and then downgrade them after a while, and over time get upgrade offers on all of the cards again. And you can apparently do this many times to the point where you might be getting over 1 million Hilton points just by using these few cards. In general though, if you're debating about what hotel card to get, I'd just get a hotel card with the actual hotels that you stay at. For example, one card that's likely going to be in my in-game setup will be the World of Hyatt credit card. The reason I say that is because Hyatt is my favorite hotel chain, and even though this card has a $95 annual fee, it does give me one free night a year at a category 1 through 4 hotel. So personally, I'm okay with paying a $95 annual fee if I'm going to get a room that's worth $400 to $500 for free. Another sleeper hotel card is actually the IHG Premier card, and that's one that's gotten a little bit more airtime on my channel recently, at least the business version, I guess. But the fact of the matter is that this is another one of those cards that has a free night certificate with it every single year. And although this card does have a $99 annual fee, as long as the room you're booking is worth more than that, then you're getting positive value from that annual fee every year. This card is also kind of famous for having some pretty high welcome offers every once in a while, so I would keep an eye out for this one, especially if you're somebody that likes to bonus hunt a little bit. Logically, you could have a hotel card with multiple different hotels, especially if those cards will give you a free night every single year for holding it. Let's imagine you had like 3 different hotel cards that each gave you a free night every single year for holding it. Say you had to pay $300 a year to hold those 3 cards. If you could get upwards of $1,200 worth of value from the rooms that you book with those free nights, then you're really profiting every single year from your hotel cards. On a similar note to that, there's also a really strong argument for adding in airline credit cards with the airlines that you frequently travel with the most. Frankly, the main and best perks of getting a co-branded airline credit card these days is that a lot of them come with the ability to get free checked bags. If this is something you can take advantage of, it's obviously well worth the annual fee. For instance, if you had to check a bag with American Airlines, it's usually about $30 each way. That's just domestically, of course, as we're talking about in this video. But what that means is by just flying twice, you can easily make up for the $99 annual fee on Citi's American Airlines credit card. Let me read the name of that card to y'all because I can never remember what it actually is. The American Airlines card I'm talking about is the Citi AAdvantage Platinum Select World Elite MasterCard. That's not the only credit card you can do this with though. For example, the Delta Gold card will also give you free check bags, and many other airline cards out there will do that as well. So just make sure to do your research and check to see if your airline of choice gives you a card like that. For someone like myself who rarely ever checks a bag, this is a little bit less important to me, and that's one reason you haven't seen me get an airline credit card yet. But whenever I do get an airline credit card, for me, like I mentioned earlier, I fly Southwest a lot, so the Southwest Priority credit card actually makes a lot of sense for me. This card doesn't actually give you any checked bags, but it's with Southwest, who I travel with frequently, and it's one that's easy to get positive value from every single year. So even if it's just my domestic airline credit card, that still makes plenty of sense for me to get if I'm getting positive value from it every year. On that note of credit cards that I'm considering adding to my setup at some point down the line, if you'd like to see what cards I'm planning on adding just through the end of this year, which may actually include some hotel cards in there, then be sure to go ahead and watch this video next. We did only talk about a few of the best domestic travel credit cards out there, so if these cards do interest you, I would recommend that you do more research on this. But as always, Odin and I both want to say thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you did enjoy, please consider leaving a like and subscribing to the channel, and we'll catch you guys next time.